Hello and welcome back to the Soap Dragon for another soap making video. Now this is my first attempt at using a different technique with a milk soap. As you can see, I'm using a soy milk, but instead of freezing it and then mixing it with the lye, what I'm doing is mixing the lye 1-to-1 with water and then adding the milk afterwards. So in this way, the milk's not going to be cooked in the batch, nor cooked by the lye so much, and you're getting more of the benefits of the milk, but you're not getting as much milk generally. I would like to have increased the milk amount in this batch, but you can't do less than 50-50 in lye. So anyway, I'm prepping my colours, and I find this is. I was unsure about this technique when I was doing it because I wasn't quite sure whether or not I'd be able to blend it in properly. But doing it this way, I'm dispersing my colorants, and these are all natural oxides and things. I'm dispersing all of those in the milk and then adding the fragrance oil to that. So that way, when I mix the 1-to-1 lye and oil, I can get that incorporated and then add colourant and fragrance all together, which kind of saves a step and saves more blending. And with this one, it worked really well because I'm doing quite thin layers, and the whole process of making the layers was simplified because I didn't really have to wait for them to set. I'm probably going to go through all of these because I'm being tedious, aren't I? Okay, so when it comes to the layers, I'm being particular about how much I'm putting in. I'll talk about that when we get to that point, I think, because otherwise you'll get confused. So, doing this mixing into the milk, I'm also making sure I've got the right colour, because things like an orange, I don't have a natural orange colour, so I have to mix my red and yellow. So in order to get the shade I want and to see pretty much how it's going to be in the bar, mixing it into milk is actually quite successful, because these colours are maybe a shade or two darker than they'll be in the final soap, but they are pretty close, which makes this whole process a lot easier, because I'm not fiddling about changing colours. So I've got in here my oxide colouring or whatever, a little bit of kaolin, and then my fragrance oil. So all my additives are done in one go, which is fabulous. So again, and I don't have to think about anything. So once I've got these done, all I've then got to do is make the next bit. But the problem being, I've got 7 separate batches to make, which means 7 lots of measuring, which I find aggravating. I don't like to do it because it's tedious, but it's kind of necessary when you're trying to do something that has exact layers in. But this kind of takes away that added step of then having to measure the milk in, having to measure in the fragrance oil, so it's all in now. So I'm not going to show you mixing of every layer because that would just be ridiculous. So I've got enough in each layer to just cover the bulb of my hand blender. And that's kind of the bare minimum that I could get as a layer. So, and it blends quicker because there's not much there. And it blends quicker because I'm using a 1-to-1 lye, which can accelerate and does if you leave this too long. So there I'm just adding in my cup of colour and additives. I'm sorry, this angle's a bit wonky. So you can see that red is coming out, but that's very red. That's very Dexter red, that one. But when it comes out in the soap, it'll be just a shade or two lighter because of the way the soap reacts. So I'm just wiping off blender, and I've got a little pot of water there just to wash it out for the next one. something I found with milk soaps, that reds do better in a milk soap than they do in a shea butter soap, or in the Castile. Actually, in the Castile ones it doesn't take red too well. So here I've got a little template that has on the bottom, the notch is where the layer needs to stop, essentially. So it's just a bit of card, and I'm just doing this once so that I can measure how much batter I need in that density for that layer, so that each soap is going to get exactly the same in each layer. It's a bit anal and it's a bit precise, but this needs to be precise because my batches are a little bit generous. I can make one loaf plus a couple of bars from each batch. So doing it this way means I've got a precise number to work to. Now next layer, and the thing about this is, because I'm mixing a 1-to-1 lye at the beginning, it sets up really quickly. So I don't really have to wait. So essentially I pour one layer, wipe down, wipe out the jug, clean the blender, weigh out and mix, and it's ready to pour. And I can pour without using a spoon or spatula to kind of break the fall, because it's not going to break through that layer, which is fabulous. But if I want to do any kind of texture on this, I'd need to be getting in there quite quickly to get the texture in before it sets up. So this is a great technique for layers, but I'm not using a lot of water discount, so I'm not using any of that to kind of control the thickness of it, which is something I can work on later on. But I'm not sure if you can see this angle, but as it gets higher up, you can see that the layer below is just not moving when I'm putting the next one on. So I'm just going to kind of show you the mix and pour of each one, just because I like that. It's just kind of that process is so simple, and I was expecting this to take a good hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but in the end I was done in maybe 40 minutes. So for all my rushing around previously with layers and things, this works out really well. I just need to do a lot of straight layered soaps. And the fragrance I'm using for this one is Pina Colada, which has a really weird smell in the soap batch. It doesn't smell at all kind of pineapple-y in the batch. It just smells, I would say, incontinent cats. It smells really kind of slightly rubbery and latexy, and yeah, incontinent cats. That goes away quite soon. You know, it's not there once you cut the bars, but it's still fairly strong. And that kind of concerned me, that I'd done all this work and got these great layers and just thought this soap's going to be an absolute stinker. But no, it's fine. So this is a lot of repetitive stuff, really. Just pour to the level required. Scoop out if I need to, and just each colour in each time. And I love how rich these colours are coming. That's what I found with using oxides more than micas. You tend to use a lot of mica to get the richness of colour that you would get from an oxide. Although the one colour I have an issue with is the pink, the last colour to go on. It looked okay. You'll see, you know, it looked okay in the jar, but when it came to actually cutting the soap, it's not quite light enough. It's got a real dark edge to it. Although that's kind of mellowed out as they've sat. But I think when I make these again, I'll add just a touch of titanium dioxide to the pink just to lighten that up a bit. Hey, back to this angle again. So by the time you get to the last 2 or 3 layers, you're in the swing, you know what you're doing. And I could probably do more than 2 loaves at a time if I did that. Although that would be pushing my my quantities, because I don't do more than two batches at once, because I don't have big enough bowls essentially to mix everything. So you can see here, as I'm pouring, there is no movement in that blue layer. The purple is just flowing on top, it doesn't drop in, and with the pink here it just sits on top just nicely, which is fabulous for a straight laid soap. So it did take a while, but I think this one was definitely worth it. It's always worth the extra bit of effort for a really good design. It's a really simple design, and really appropriate for the time of year, really. So you can see here the pink is still really dark. That does mellow a little bit as it sits, but not enough for me, I think. But this was a little tougher to cut than my normal soap batch. But otherwise, we're all good. I'll see you again.